Hey guys, hopefully you're having a great day today. So Nvidia stock has sold off quite a bit in the past day or so. We can see that we started market open today. As soon as market opened, we saw it really sell off and then recover back up after dropping what was about 3 or 4%. And now we see it kind of below this moving average. Now, for those of you guys that are in our StockMate community, which is our second link in the description down below, if you want to watch me trade live every morning at market open, we covered Nvidia stock, we got into Palantir stock and Rocket Lab today. Our portfolio is up about 1.99% on the day, now 1.98. And one of the things we were talking about was the potential for Nvidia. Right now it's looking kind of bearish, holding below that moving average. You see the moving average kind of acting as a resistance, right? And we saw it push up momentarily yesterday before, breaking back below. Now we're kind of at this previous support that if it breaks above it, we could see it continue up. Now, some of the news that came out on Nvidia is that Forbes says Nvidia stock has a 70% potential upside for 2025. A lot of companies you could look at wrap their stuff, like you could say ChatGPT, for example. Like you have companies that use ChatGPT behind the scenes and they wrap ChatGPT and then sell it, right? They resell it. Nvidia is kind of like the company that a lot of people wrap. You could look at Tesla, they use Nvidia. Apple uses Nvidia. These microchips are powering some of the world's greatest tech. And this is something that we need to understand, is that the reason why is because they're so effective. And they just recently launched Blackwell. So basically it says Nvidia once again posted a $2 billion revenue beat. So 94% growth year over year. Data center revenue more than doubled in the last quarter to over 30 billion, with Hopper driving the second largest data center beat in company history. Speaking volumes as to the level of demand for its GPUs, given that Blackwell will not initially ship until next quarter. So this is their new chip that's going to be shipping, Blackwell. But even without their new chip launched, their 94% increase in revenues year over year. So aside from that, you have that the I-O fund is already tracking a 30% minimum difference between GB200 NVL72 orders and what the street has estimated for next year. When adding that, the DGX B200 systems will be priced 40% higher, and assuming pricing power affects more SKUs the way it will affect the GGX B200 systems, then it's possible to see a 70% upside for Nvidia. So one thing that Nvidia hasn't been the number one company at compared to, for example, ARM Holdings, which is a similar company, that their margins haven't been great, but their margins are essentially, in this article, they're saying their margins are going to increase. A lot of companies, for example, Apple, Google, you got AWS, who just recently announced they want to try and build their own chips, but nevertheless, you have Tesla and Apple purchasing Nvidia chips to basically hedge and prepare themselves for what is going to be a 2025 AI boom, where this type of technology is going to be needed. But the thing that is interesting, I just want to take a moment here for Nvidia. They beat their earnings. They beat their earnings per share. Their revenue increased, and they're obviously in a growing stage. We see them growing. But when I look at their stock, the past, like we were just going over it, it is getting rejected by this moving average. We see it kind of selling off. And if we break it down more on the longer term basis, though, it actually kind of looks like a really great buy. So essentially, if we break this down, kind of on the uptrend, you can see, if we right here, you can see this uptrend that is clearly identified. If I go year to date, it might be kind of easier to point out. There we go. yeah, so you can kind of see we had a brief period of time where it pushed up above there. And then down here, very clear support, right? Where Nvidia has been trending. And so with this trend that we have going on, it seems that Nvidia, they beat earnings back here, but they've sold off since, okay? What we might expect from Nvidia is that this sell-off is going to be basically something that is going to be a great buying opportunity for Nvidia. And if, for example, we see it continue to grow, if this is kind of that buy range where we're seeing this pullback, it broke below the moving average. It's still looking a little bearish, but all of the fundamentals are pointing to that this thing could continue up. And if it does, that would be a 21% increase for Nvidia, right? If we see it continue in its upward direction, it's going to go up by 21%. So here on Nvidia, that's 21%. If we look on like NVDX, which is Nvidia's 2x leverage, so essentially there's more risk associated. This stock could go down by 1%, and that will be a 2% decrease over here. And so you have to consider that it is more risky to use something like this, right? But that being said, when we look at NVDX in a similar kind of range here, it hasn't recovered as much. It's not showing that recovery as much because this one's a little bit of a lagging measure. But what does that look like from a profit perspective? Well, if we see it continue that upward direction and it does stay true, now that's not a 24% increase. We're talking about more like a 42% increase here on NVDX, which is the 2x leverage. Now, of course, it's Nvidia. It could be volatile. It doesn't necessarily mean be very careful investing in it. But when you're trading on the shorter term, I like to use these leveraged funds because it makes it a little bit. When you have a clear pattern, there's more profit available, and that's what has allowed me to grow my account by over 100% year over year. So this year at least, not the year before. But that's kind of the reason, right? So Nvidia, they're beating earnings. Their revenues are up. They have a new Blackwell chip that's expected to crush. However, they've been selling off, and what could be now, we're at this previous support here at about $15 on NVDX. What could be now, a good call to say, hey, we're going to see Nvidia continue up. It's actually interesting. If you look on the technicals, this is a previous kind of resistance area. And if we look here, see this kind of resistance area where we've seen Nvidia get rejected in the past around $138, $136, and then also right here around $131. Right, that kind of level, that's actually kind of where we are right now in our price. And so I would say, you have this trend that's working, but you also have this previous resistance. And what do we know about that? Is that previous resistance will oftentimes act as a support. And you could see that, for example, here, this is a resistance right here, and then it acted as a support right here. And so that happens a lot. They don't always, but they tend to act as a support. So right now with its current price, I'm going to be keeping a close eye. I potentially will be getting into NVDX, but I just want to give you guys an update when you have earnings that are doing well, revenues that are doing well. And then, of course, you have a lot of bear articles. Maybe that's why, you have those estimates and that, but then you have, Jim Cramer, I think it was, that said it's going to go down, and then it has gone down a little bit. Or you look at prediction from Motley Fool, says this is a massive risk that could derail Nvidia. and there's cracks that are emerging and things like that, right? So you have good, and then you have some bad kind of articles. But just looking at the simple numbers, you have a lot of big companies relying on Nvidia. They're not the number one company in the world for no reason. You say Apple was the number one company in the world a few years ago. Do you still say, oh, well, maybe it's not a good buy? No, if you bought Apple stock, you would have done quite well for yourself, right? So it's just one of those things that you have to look at. Hopefully this has been valuable for you guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you all. Just a friendly reminder, we have our sale here for Black Friday on StockMate. If you want to watch me trade live every day at market open, learn how to invest in tech and AI companies, then StockMate is that second link down below. And we have a coupon code for you to get a nice discount here for Black Friday. If you want to learn, there's about 70 plus lessons on fundamental analysis, technical analysis, some options trading, as well as crypto. And primarily we focus on AI and tech companies. So again, for those of you guys that would like to watch me trade live, it's that second link down below. I'd encourage you to simply take a look. If I earned your thumbs up, consider hitting that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care.